Whenever we do a casting and the hexagram appears to be having an O-yang or O-yin, it means this line is in moving. And after it moves, it will then be a change. And this change are the transformed line. One of the important part here for I Ching is the moving line. We could make an assumption like this. We cast for hexagram, and this hexagram casting is something like calling up for an advisory meeting. And these 6 lines in the hexagram is the 6 counselors in there. All of them prepared to respond to our question. If I wanted to understand the cause of an event and the result, we will need to observe at the 6 lines, like waiting for this 6th person to speak of something. If none of them is going to tell us anything, they will remain quiet. Perhaps none of them thinks that there is anything special that needed to be told in regarding to my meeting. Even if there is something happening, most probably it doesn't affect much. So we will assume that nothing big is coming. In this case, it is given as a static hexagram. But what if any of them raise up their hands? So the man that raising up his hand will be getting your attention, and you will then focus on what he is trying to say. You wanted to know, is his ideas good or bad to this agenda? In this case, the moving line is in fact having such meaning. That is why in King Wen Oracle, there is a Chinese saying like this, 神造基于动，动必有因. When we translate this literally, it means a pattern is based on its moving, and it must be a reason with the moving. This means that we will need to find a clear answer from the moving part. In regarding how do we deciphering the moving line, since this channel is only introduction lesson to the King Wen Oracle, so I will not explain too much to the principle of the moving line. If you need to learn more and use them like a boss, you will need to contact me for the paid course. So I will straight away explain how to use the moving line from the classical method, called the moving line tactic with the 6 kings. You can still able to do some reading after this video. I will include a timestamp down below the description area. So if you need to come back for a reference to a certain explanation in the future, you could straight away click to the topic. Before you go any further from here, I need to remind you that if you find any terms here is difficult to understand, you will need to watch back all my previous videos. All the terminologies that I'm going to explain in this video have all been explained, so make sure you are familiar with them. Hello, I'm Alfred, the King Wen Oracle and Business Feng Shui Specialist. So let's dive in right now. Let's now start with the parent moving line. When the parent line is moving, it will be restricted to offspring line. And offspring line represents medicine. When your meta element is offspring line and it is restricted by parent line, then this offspring line is useless. Therefore, the patient is careless and will sink into unconsciousness. When we predict for medical treatment, if you see parent line is moving, it means the doctor doesn't prescribe to the right medication. When the question is about marriage, the source element of the asset line is the offspring line. If the parent line in the hexagram is moving, it will be restricted to the offspring line. And since the source element is being restricted, it will not be able to generate to the asset line. This explains to a marriage that is in a situation, and this situation is applicable for men only. If you have gone through all my previous videos, you should understand asset line represents a man-wife. Make sure you watch all my previous videos if you don't understand how is the asset line related to a wife. And also, when the parent line is moving, it means not easy to be having a baby. When the question is about business, and we see parent line, it means working very hard and tiring. And what worse is, it also means not able to generating income. When we are in business, we need to make a profit, and the meta element for the profit is asset line and offspring line. Offspring line could be denoted as customers. When the parent line is moving, parent line will be restricted to the offspring line, and therefore no customers is coming in, and it will lead to unprofitable business. During ancient time, it is not easy to get communicated, especially in a long distance. They don't have a phone, no internet. They can only rely on writing, so the parent line is denoting to the letter. You see, when our family member has been out for long, for sure they will be getting worried. When the parent line is moving, it means the person who left the house has already sent out a letter and they shall get the letter soon. Now this Lun Guan means lawsuit and Xia Zhong means dispute. When you dispute, you need to write them all in paper, and this paper is the parent line. When parent line is moving, it means the paper is get ready. Now, 金榜 here is the word they used in Chinese ancient time. It means the published list of successful examinees. This listing is a kind of documentation. Scholar who goes for the imperial examination wanted to know are their names is going to get listed. In this case, if the parent line is moving, it means they are listed. Su is a lost item, and Tao Wang means run away. When you make something lost and looking to run away, if you see parent line is moving, it means the warrant is inactive and will be pursued. Let's now move on to the sibling moving line. Jiao Chong here is a term in I Ching which means moving line. During the ancient time, the Chinese marked out the casting with coins. When it is a yang line, they mark it with one single coin. This is called single, which is dan. When it is a yin line, they mark it with two separate coins. This is called split, cai. If it is o yin, they mark it with two coins that are crossing. This is called cross, jiao. If the line is o yang, they mark with two stacking coins. This is called stack, chong. So, jiao chong here means cross and stack. It is the o yin and o yang line. That is to say that jiao chong is the moving line. Now, come back to this sentence. It said, when the sibling line is moving, it will eventually hurt a person's wealth. If a man is asking about his wife's illness condition, this sibling moving line is an indication that the illness is hard to cure. This is when joining the imperial examination. Sibling line moving means many people will be joining the examination at the same time. When there is a lot of competitor, it will be getting much challenging to get listed. Sibling line moving may be also indicating a dispute or things get stolen. It means the sibling line turns into favorable spirits. It will become a good outcome. For instance, when self line is holding offspring line and the sibling is moving, this sibling line may indicate friends are coming over to help you. It also means some obstruction when sibling line is moving, especially when we ask returning day for people that are already leaving the house for long. If you see sibling lines moving, this means the person is currently facing some obstruction that can't return home right now. When we are in business, definitely it needs to be profitable. It will be a loss if the sibling line is moving. This is a similar meaning with the first sentence I've just explained. Now let's see what will be happening when the offspring line is moving. Officer line will get hurt when the offspring line is moving. Therefore, it is not a good idea if the officer line is the element that you need. However, if the officer line is not the element that you need, then this is a good sign. For instance, we see a doctor when we are in the sickness. The useful spirit for illness is the officer line. When offspring line is moving, it means the sickness will be get restricted. So it means that the prescription is effective. Since offspring line able to generate income, so if the offspring line is moving, it means the business is not only to be profitable, and it also means that not having any disaster, since offspring line will take away the disaster. If you're finding not understand what am I explaining here, you need to go back and watch all my previous videos. I've already explained the foundation to all of this. If a pregnant woman not sure when she can be labor, if offspring line is moving, it also means that the baby is moving. So it is about time to deliver the baby. When we dispute in the lawsuit, if you see the officer line is moving, it means the case is already filed in, waiting to go to the court. So when the offspring line is moving, and it will be restricted to officer line, it means no more attending to the court or reconciliation is reached by both parties. During ancient times, people always need a network to find out a way, especially when they wanted to work for imperial. If offspring line is moving and restricted to officer line, it means we will not be able to get a position. It is better to behave oneself and wait for the next opportunity. Let's now go to the moving asset line. When we ask about metal element that relate to documentation, the useful spirit will be the parent line. Therefore, asset line will be the dreadful element for the parent line. So, a parent line will be get hurt if the asset line is moving. All the things that related to documentation will become unfavorable. I already explained what is injury at the sibling moving line. So to join or apply an imperial examination, we'll first need to study hard. Studying is the parent line. This statement explains that when asset line is moving, all the studies and writing will never be right. Therefore, the imperial examination will be ended as a failure. Since the examination will be failed as the asset line is in moving, it means that it will be rather proper if we're running a business, as asset line moving means making a good profit. Now this statement is explaining a technique called I Ching, which means analyzing a couple of answers in a single hexagram. This is a terrific method that many King Wen Oracle professionals is looking for. However, this is something a beginner or even an amateur shouldn't be involved. In order to get the accuracy, we need to use another technique together in order to get a confirmed answer. So I will not disclose too much here, as the purpose of this video is only explain how to read on the moving line. This statement explains that when SL line is moving, it is about getting happy marriage. However, this is only applicable for the man. This explains that the person left home is ready to come back. The moving SL line indicates that the person is now ready for his traveling fund. During ancient time, to make a move, you need a lot of money. Without enough of fund, people will most probably get lost or even die in the middle of the journey. This is also another statement from a man's perspective. For a man, if SL line is moving, it means the baby is about to deliver. This explanation is similar to the moving offspring line. The difference for this is the person who asked the question. That is why many modern people will be finding difficult and confusing when reading the classic and use their method. All the details and the rigorous technique about this will be explained in my other paid content, so I will not disclose any further from here. So this Su means lost item. Generally, a useful spirit for the lost item is the SL line. So the moving SL line means the lost item has been moved to somewhere else, and you will be able to find it back. In the classical King Wen Oracle, they also explain that the lost items are not stolen by others. But this is only applicable when the SL line is not heard by others' line. When things involve a couple of moving lines, it will become confusing to explain. That is why you need to master the knowledge of meta element and the genuine definition of useful spirit, or else you will just following whatever the classical says, and you will end up claiming that King Wen Oracle cannot be maintaining a high accuracy rate. I've already explained food are also classified as SL line in this video. So if a patient is having a moving SL line, it means the food he ate is being not properly digested. Let's now go to the last moving line explanation, which is the moving officer line. This is talk about a moving officer line is going to be restricted on the sibling line. It will be something not looking good if we are asking the condition of our sibling. This says to deny a marriage. Now, this is also another statement from a man's perspective again. The moving officer implies that there is another man is also taking about the same marriage. When we ask for our own health and we see a moving officer is restricted to self-line, it implies a pain and suffer from illness. It may also imply that a disaster is coming in. When we grow crops and we do some breeding, generally, the useful spirit should be the offspring line, and the moving officer line will be restricted to the source spirit of the offspring line, which is the sibling line. So this means that the crop is lack of support. It also means that the crops and all the breeding will never stay for long. When we dispute in the lawsuit, the officer line maybe represents the law enforcement officer. If the moving officer is restricted to self-line, it means our own self will definitely be the losing party, and it might end up with a lockup if it is a serious crime. This is also saying about a lawsuit. If officer line is moving, the convict will still be caught back to the jail even though had already run away. Wealth will be exhausted when officer line is moving. So when we ask about business, it implies that the difficulty in business during the progress of an earning. It will be also a loss if we go for gambling. Now, we mentioned about gambling. This is the topic that many students ask me. Many seem interested to understand how likeliness King Wen Oracle to be used for gambling purpose. In fact, the accuracy for any type of gambling will remain 90% and above, but there is always some rules to follow. Regarding the rules, I will not explain this in this video. If you are interested to find out more, you may contact me for a paid course, or wait till I have time to write this on my blog. When we lost something and can't find them back, the moving officer could imply that thing is already get stolen. So all of these moving line explanation are only to get you some ideas on how King Wen Oracle read on a moving line with a question. If any of the above explanation happens in your situation, you could also apply all this reading. The moving line itself will turn into transform line, and the transform line is the consequences of the moving line. Therefore, when we read the moving line, the transform line is actually describes the consequences. I will explain more about the transform line in the next video. In the beginner class, the moving line will not be explained in like the way that you are watching it right now. In order to let you master the moving line technique, I will need to explain them in a very long theory. So in this channel, I only extract some instant method from the classical and trying to explain the concept to you. If your question is out of this situation of this video explanation, you will find it very difficult to read the hexagram. If you're keen to learn how to read all the moving line, you must learn the principle of the hexagram. Only after mastering the hexagram principle, then you will be able to dash string any hexagram and any moving line.